The night before my wedding, my best friend came to my house in tears and confessed that she had been secretly in love with my fiancé for years, and in that moment, I didn't know who betrayed me more, her or him. My name is Riley, and I need to tell you about the night my best friend destroyed my wedding before it even happened. Let me start with Emma. She's been my person since we were 7 years old, sitting next to each other in second grade, bonding over our shared hatred of cafeteria pizza. 20 years of friendship. Sleepovers, first crushes, heartbreaks, college applications, job interviews, family drama. She was the sister I never had, the one person I could tell anything to. When I met Jake 3 years ago at a coffee shop downtown, Emma was the first person I called. You have to meet this guy, I told her, practically vibrating with excitement. He's perfect, Em. Like, perfect. She laughed at my enthusiasm. Nobody's perfect, but I can't wait to meet Mr. Almost Perfect. That weekend, I introduced them at a barbecue at my apartment. Jake was nervous, which I found adorable, because he knew how important Emma's approval was to me. I remember watching them talk by the kitchen island, both of them laughing at something, and feeling this warm happiness that the two most important people in my life were getting along. I like him, Emma told me later as we cleaned up. He seems genuine. And the way he looks at you. She smiled. Yeah, he's smitten. Over the next 3 years, the three of us became inseparable. Jake would joke that he got a 2-for-1 deal when he started dating me, because Emma came as a package deal. We had standing plans for trivia night every Thursday, took group vacations, and celebrated every holiday together. Emma was there when Jake and I moved in together, helping us paint the living room and arguing with us about whether the couch should face the window or the TV. She was there when we adopted our dog Buster, teaching him tricks while Jake and I figured out house training. When Jake proposed 6 months ago, Emma cried harder than I did. She'd helped him pick out the ring, spending weeks with him at jewelry stores to find something she knew I'd love. The proposal was perfect, a sunset picnic in the park where we'd had our first date, with Emma hiding in the bushes to take photos of the whole thing. I can't believe you're getting married, she sobbed, hugging us both. My best friend is marrying her soulmate. Planning the wedding with Emma as my maid of honor was everything I dreamed of since we were kids playing dress-up in my mom's closet. She gave me the most beautiful bridal shower, complete with games that referenced inside jokes from our 20-year friendship. She helped me find my dress, crying in the fitting room when I found the one. She planned my bachelorette party, a perfect weekend in Napa that was classy and fun and exactly my style. Looking back now, I wonder if she was already in love with him then. If every moment she spent helping me plan my future with Jake was for her. If every time she hugged him hello or goodbye she was dying inside. Or maybe I'm giving her too much credit. Maybe she wasn't tortured at all. Maybe she was just biding her time. The rehearsal dinner was last night. Everything went perfectly. My parents gave a speech about how proud they were of me, Jake's mom talked about how happy she was to welcome me into their family, and Jake's best man roasted him with embarrassing college stories that had everyone in tears from laughing. Emma gave the most beautiful speech about our friendship, about watching me grow up and find the love I deserved. She talked about how Jake made me laugh in a way she'd never seen before, how he brought out the best in me, how perfect we were together. To Riley and Jake, she said, raising her glass. May your love story be everything you've dreamed of and more. Everyone cheered and clinked glasses, and I felt so incredibly lucky to have such amazing people in my life. My best friend, my soulmate, and both families are coming together to celebrate our love. After dinner, Jake went back to his hotel room because we decided to do the whole don't see each other before the wedding thing. Emma came back to my apartment to help me with last-minute preparations and keep me company on my last night as a single woman. We opened a bottle of wine and spread out all the final details on my kitchen table. Programs to double-check, an emergency kit to pack, timeline to review with the coordinator. It felt like we were back in college, staying up all night working on a project together. I can't believe tomorrow is the day, I said, looking at my wedding dress hanging in the doorway. 3 years ago, I was just some girl drinking too much coffee, and now I'm getting married. Emma was quiet, staring at the wine in her glass. Em? You okay? She looked up at me, and I noticed her eyes were red. I thought she was getting emotional about the wedding, maybe sad that our friendship was entering a new phase. Riley, I need to tell you something. The way she said it made my stomach drop. Her voice was shaky, almost whispered, like she was confessing to a crime. What's wrong? She started crying then. Not happy tears or sentimental tears, but deep sobs that shook her whole body. I'm so sorry, she said between gasps. I'm so sorry. I moved around the table to sit next to her, putting my arm around her shoulders. Em, what's going on? Whatever it is, we can figure it out. She shook her head. No, we can't. This is going to ruin everything, and I can't live with myself anymore. My heart started pounding. You're scaring me. What are you talking about? Emma looked at me with such pain in her eyes that I knew, even before she said the words, that my life was about to change forever. I'm in love with Jake, she whispered. I've been in love with him since the day you introduced us 3 years ago. The world went completely silent. I could hear the clock ticking on the kitchen wall, could hear my heartbeat, but I couldn't process what she'd just said. What? I know how horrible this is. I know the timing is awful. But I can't watch you marry him tomorrow knowing that I've been lying to you for 3 years. I pulled my arm away from her, suddenly feeling like I didn't know the person sitting next to me. You've been in love with my fiancé for 3 years? My fiancé, Emma. The man I'm marrying tomorrow. She nodded, still crying. I tried to get over it. I dated other people, I went to therapy, and I even considered moving away. But nothing worked. Every time I see you two together, every time you talk about your future, it kills me a little more. I stood up, backing away from her like she was contagious. So you've just been. What? Pretending to be happy for us? Pretending to support our relationship while secretly wishing it would fail? No, she said quickly. I mean, yes, I was pretending, but I wasn't wishing for it to fail. I love you, Riley. You're my best friend. I want you to be happy. If you wanted me to be happy, you would have told me this 3 years ago. Or better yet, you would have stepped back and let me have my relationship without your secret feelings complicating everything. The reality of what she was telling me started sinking in. Every moment of our friendship for the past 3 years had been a lie. Every time she'd hugged Jake, every time she'd given us relationship advice, every time she'd helped plan our future together, she was harboring feelings that turned it all into a betrayal. Does he know? I asked, dreading the answer. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Too long. Does he know, Emma? Yes, she whispered. He knows. The kitchen started spinning. I gripped the counter to keep from falling over. How long has he known? About a year. A year. Jake had known for a year that my best friend was in love with him, and he'd never said anything to me. They'd both been keeping this secret while I planned our wedding, completely oblivious to the emotional ticking right next to me. What happened a year ago? I managed to ask. Emma's face crumpled. I told him. At your birthday party, after you went to bed. I had too much wine and I told him everything. How I felt, how long I'd felt it, how sorry I was. I remembered that birthday party. It had been perfect. Jake had surprised me with a party at our favorite restaurant, and Emma had given the sweetest speech about our friendship. Afterward, we'd all come back to my apartment for cake and more drinks. I'd gone to bed around midnight, leaving Jake and Emma cleaning up in the kitchen. I'd fallen asleep feeling so grateful for the two people I loved most in the world. And while I was sleeping, my best friend was confessing her love for my fiancé in my kitchen. What did he say when you told him? He said he was flattered but that he loved you, that he was going to marry you. He asked me not to say anything because it would just involve everyone. And you agreed to that? You both agreed to lie to me for a year? Emma nodded miserably. We thought it was the right thing to do. We thought if we just ignored it, it would go away. But it hadn't gone away. She'd spent a year watching us get engaged, plan our wedding, build our life together, all while secretly loving the man I was going to marry. And he'd spent a year knowing about her feelings and choosing to hide them from me. I have to call this off, I said, more to myself than to her. Riley, no. Please don't let my feelings ruin your happiness. Jake loves you. He chose you. This is my problem, not yours. How is this not my problem? I yelled. My maid of honor is in love with my groom, and they've both been lying to me about it. How am I supposed to marry him tomorrow, knowing that you'll be standing behind him, wishing you were in my place? Emma flinched like I'd slapped her. That's not. I would never. Wouldn't you? Tell me honestly, Emma. When you're standing behind me tomorrow watching me marry the man you've been in love with for 3 years, what are you going to be thinking? She couldn't answer, which was answer enough. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Where are you going? Emma called after me. I don't know, I said. But I can't be here right now. Riley, please don't do anything rash. We can talk about this. We can figure it out. I turned back to look at her, this person I'd trusted with every secret, every dream, every important moment of my life for 20 years. There's nothing to figure out, Emma. You destroyed everything tonight, and I don't know if I can ever forgive you for that. I left her crying in my kitchen and drove aimlessly around town until I ended up here, at this gas station, trying to figure out what comes next. In 6 hours, I'm supposed to wake up and get my hair done. In 8 hours, I'm supposed to walk down the aisle to marry Jake. My family is in town, our friends are here, we've paid for everything and everyone is expecting the wedding of the year. But how can I marry someone who's been keeping this secret from me? How can I trust Jake when he chose to protect Emma's feelings over my right to know the truth? How can I have Emma as my maid of honor when she's been in love with my groom this entire time? 20 years of friendship, 3 years of loving Jake, 6 months of wedding planning, and it's all been contaminated by this secret that everyone knew except me. I don't know who betrayed me more, my best friend for loving him, or my fiancé for hiding it. But I know one thing, the wedding I've been dreaming of my entire life is ruined, and there's no fixing it. I drove around for 3 hours before finally going back to my apartment. Emma's car was gone, but she'd left a note on my kitchen table next to the wine we'd been sharing when she destroyed my life. Riley, I know I've ruined everything, but please don't make any decisions tonight. Sleep on it. Talk to Jake. I'll understand if you never want to see me again, but don't let my mistakes cost you your happiness. M. Her mistakes. Falling in love with my fiancé was just some innocent error in judgment instead of 3 years of betrayal. I took the note away and tried to sleep, but my mind wouldn't stop racing. Every memory from the past 3 years was replaying in my head, but now I was seeing them differently. Emma helping Jake pick out my engagement ring, was she imagining it on her finger? Emma was planning my bachelorette party, was she secretly devastated that it was for me and not her? Emma giving that beautiful speech at the rehearsal dinner about our perfect love story, was she dying inside with every word? At 6 a.m., my phone started buzzing with texts from my hairstylist, the photographer, and my mom asking if I was excited about the big day. I ignored them all. At 7 a.m., Jake called. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, and his voice sounded so normal, so happy. "Ready to become Mrs. Peterson?" "Jake, we need to talk." The tone of my voice must have scared him because he was immediately alert. "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Emma told me. Silence. Long, horrible silence that confirmed everything I'd hoped wasn't true. "Riley. You knew. For a year, you knew that my best friend was in love with you, and you didn't tell me." "It wasn't my secret to tell." "Wasn't your secret?" "Jake, she's in love with you. That makes it your secret too." I could hear him breathing heavily on the other end of the line. "Can we please talk about this in person? This isn't a conversation for the phone. We're supposed to be getting married in 4 hours." "I know. Which is why we need to talk. Right now." 20 minutes later, Jake was at my door. He looked like he hadn't slept either, his hair messy, still wearing the same clothes from the rehearsal dinner. "Riley, I love you," he said before I could even speak. "Whatever else happens, whatever we decide, I need you to know that I love you and I want to marry you today." "But you've been lying to me." "I haven't been lying. I didn't tell you something that would have you unnecessary." "Unnecessarily?" "Jake, my maid of honor, is in love with my groom. How is that unnecessary information?" He ran his hands through his hair, clearly struggling with how to explain himself. "What was I supposed to do, Riley?" "Emma made a mistake. She had too much wine at your birthday party and said things she probably shouldn't have said. She was embarrassed and asked me not to tell you because it would ruin your friendship for no reason." "No reason?" "She's been harboring feelings for you for 3 years. But I don't have feelings for her. She told me she loved me, and I told her I was sorry, but I was in love with you. End of story." "Except it's not the end of the story, is it? Because she's still in love with you. She's been living with those feelings every day for the past year, watching us plan our wedding, pretending to be happy for us." Jake sat down heavily on my couch. "I know it's complicated. But Emma is your best friend. She's been your best friend for 20 years. I didn't want to ruin that over something that was never going to go anywhere. So you decided for me. You decided that I was better off not knowing. I decided that I loved you and wanted to protect you from unnecessary pain." I stared at him, this man I'd been planning to promise my life to in a few hours, and I realized I didn't know him as well as I thought I did. "What else haven't you told me to protect me, Jake? What other secrets are you keeping because you think you know what's best for me?" "Nothing. Riley, there's nothing else. This was one situation, one time, and I handled it the way I thought was best for everyone involved. Everyone except me. I was the only one who didn't get a say in how this situation was handled." My phone kept buzzing with texts and calls from everyone involved in the wedding. My mom, my sister, the wedding coordinator, and the photographer. All these people who were getting ready to celebrate my marriage, while I sat here realizing I might not be able to go through with it. "What do you want me to do?" Jake asked. "Tell me what I can do to fix this." "I don't know if you can fix this. The look on his face was devastating. Like he was watching our entire future disappear. Riley, please. Emma made a mistake telling me how she felt, and I made a mistake not telling you about it. But neither of us meant to hurt you. We were both trying to protect you. By lying to me. By not involving you in a situation that didn't involve you. Emma's feelings are her problem, not ours. They became our problem the second she developed them. And they became our problem when she decided to tell you about them. I looked at my wedding dress hanging in the doorway, the dress Emma had helped me pick out while she was secretly wishing she was the one wearing it. How am I supposed to marry you today with her standing behind me as my maid of honor? How am I supposed to look at her during the ceremony and not think about how she's feeling? We'll ask someone else to be your maid of honor. Your sister, maybe. Emma will understand. My sister is already a bridesmaid. We can't reorganize the entire wedding party 3 hours before the ceremony. But even as I said it, I realized the wedding party was the least of our problems. I don't know if I can trust you anymore, I said quietly. That hit him like a physical. Riley, no. You can trust me. I made one bad decision about one difficult situation. That doesn't mean you can't trust me. How do I know that? How do I know you won't make another bad decision about another difficult situation and keep me in the dark again? Because I'm telling you right now that I won't. I'm promising you that from now on, we'll handle everything together. No more secrets, no more trying to protect you from things you have a right to know. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. But sitting there looking at this man I thought I knew completely, I felt like I was looking at a stranger. My phone rang. My mom. Honey, where are you? The hairstylist is here, and you're supposed to be getting ready. Mom, I need you to sit down. What? Riley, what's wrong? I don't think I can go through with the wedding. Silence. Then, what do you mean you can't go through with it? The ceremony is in 3 hours. I explained everything. Emma's confession, Jake's year-long secret, the betrayal of trust, the impossibility of going through with a wedding when everything felt like a lie. My mom listened without interrupting, then said quietly, "Oh, sweetheart. What do I do, Mom?" "I don't know, baby. I don't know." After I hung up, Jake and I sat in silence for a long time. Outside, I could hear normal Saturday morning sounds, kids playing, lawnmowers, people living their regular lives while mine fell apart. "If we don't get married today," Jake said finally, "do you think there's a chance we could get married someday? After we work through this?" I looked at him, this man who'd been my partner, my best friend, my future for 3 years. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to forget that you kept this from me. I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust that you're not keeping other things from me." "So that's it? 3 years together, and this one mistake ends everything?" "It's not just one mistake, Jake. It's a pattern of making decisions for me instead of with me. It's choosing to protect other people's feelings over my right to know the truth about my own life." At 11 a.m., we made the calls. The wedding was off. Not postponed, not delayed, cancelled entirely. My mom handled the vendors and the venue. Jake's best man dealt with the guests who were already arriving. My sister managed the family members who were calling and texting in confusion and concern. I sat in my bedroom, still in my pajamas, staring at the wedding dress I would never wear, trying to figure out how my perfect life had imploded in less than 12 hours. Emma called 6 times. I didn't answer. By evening, the story had spread through our entire social circle. The wedding was cancelled because the bride found out her best friend was in love with the groom. Some people took my side, some people thought I was overreacting, and most people just felt sorry for everyone involved. That night, Jake came by to collect his things from my apartment. We'd been living together for 2 years, and it took him 3 trips to pack up his life with me. "I love you, Riley," he said as he loaded the last box into his car. "I know you don't believe that right now, but I love you and I would have spent the rest of my life making you happy." "I believe that you love me," I said. "But I also believe that you'll keep making decisions for me instead of with me, and I can't live that way." He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry. For all of it. I'm so sorry." After he drove away, I went back inside to my empty apartment. The wedding decorations were still spread out on my kitchen table, programs with our names on them, favors we'd picked out together, place cards for the reception that would never happen. I gathered it all up and put it in the trash, then poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my couch trying to figure out what came next. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "I know you hate me, and I don't blame you. But I meant what I said in my note. Don't let my mistakes cost you your happiness." I stared at the message for a long time before deleting it without responding. 24 hours ago, I was getting ready for the happiest day of my life. Now I was alone in my apartment, single, with a closet full of honeymoon clothes for a trip I'd never take and a wedding dress I'd never wear again. Emma had said she couldn't live with herself anymore, keeping her secret. But she'd already lived with it for 3 years. She could have lived with it for one more day, could have let me have my wedding, and dealt with her feelings afterward. Instead, she chose to unburden herself the night before my wedding, leaving me to deal with the wreckage of everything she'd been hiding. The worst part was that I understood why she did it. The guilt must have been eating her alive, watching me plan my future with the man she loved. But understanding didn't make the betrayal any less. I'd lost my fiancé and my best friend in one night, and I still didn't know who had betrayed me more. 2 years later, I'm writing this from the coffee shop where I first met Jake. Not because I'm being masochistic, but because I needed somewhere quiet to think, and this place holds enough memories that I can't pretend the past didn't happen. The short version of what came after is this: everything fell apart, but eventually I learned to build something new from the pieces. The immediate aftermath of canceling my wedding was brutal in ways I couldn't have anticipated. It wasn't just the loss of Jake and Emma, it was the loss of the entire social structure we built together over 3 years. Our friend group imploded. People felt like they had to choose sides, and most of them chose Jake's, which I understood. He was the victim of Emma's unrequited feelings, and I was the bride who'd overreacted and canceled her wedding over something that wasn't his fault. That's how they saw it, anyway. The few people who supported my decision kept asking if I regretted it, if I thought I'd made the right choice, and if I would take Jake back if he asked. The questions were exhausting because I didn't have clean answers. Did I regret canceling the wedding? Sometimes. Did I think I'd made the right choice? Most days. Would I take Jake back? I honestly didn't know. The financial cost was devastating. We lost almost all the money we'd put into the wedding, the venue, the catering, the flowers, the photography. Jake offered to split the losses, but I was too angry and proud to accept his help. I spent the next year paying off credit card debt from a wedding that never happened. I kept the dress in my closet for 6 months, unable to look at it but unwilling to get rid of it. Finally, my sister convinced me to donate it to a program that gives wedding dresses to military brides who can't afford them. At least someone got to be happy in it. The honeymoon tickets to Italy went unused. I considered taking the trip alone, some kind of empowering solo journey, but the thought of sitting in romantic restaurants by myself was too depressing. I got partial credit for the flights and used it to visit my college roommate in Seattle instead. Emma tried to reach out for months. Texts, emails, and letters left on my doorstep. She wanted to apologize, to explain, to somehow make things right between us. I ignored all of it. What was there to say? She'd loved my fiancé for 3 years and told me about it the night before my wedding. No apology could fix that. About 6 months after the non-wedding, I heard through mutual friends that Emma had started seeing a therapist to deal with what she called her pattern of inappropriate attachments to unavailable men. I wasn't the first friend whose boyfriend she'd fallen for, just the first one she'd confessed to. That information hit me like a truck. The idea that this was a pattern, that I'd just been the latest victim of Emma's inability to maintain appropriate boundaries, made everything feel even more violating. Jake, meanwhile, seemed to bounce back faster than I expected. He moved to a different neighborhood, started hanging out with different people, and began dating someone new within 8 months. I found this out accidentally when I ran into his sister at the grocery store, and she mentioned his new girlfriend in passing. "She's sweet," she said, apparently forgetting that I might not want to hear about Jake's love life. Much more low maintenance than. She caught herself, but the damage was done. Much more low maintenance than me. Than the woman who'd canceled her wedding because she couldn't handle her fiancé keeping a secret to protect her feelings. I spent a lot of time in therapy that first year, trying to figure out if I'd overreacted, if I'd thrown away something good over a situation that wasn't actually about me. Dr. Williams helped me understand that it wasn't really about Emma's feelings, it was about Jake's decision to keep me in the dark about something that affected my life. "You had a right to make an informed decision about your wedding," she said. "Jake took that choice away from you by withholding information that might have changed your mind about how to handle the situation." But even understanding that intellectually didn't make the loneliness any easier to bear. Dating has been complicated, to say the least. The story of my cancelled wedding spread through the local dating scene like wildfire. I became known as the woman who couldn't handle her best friend having feelings for her fiancé, the high-maintenance bride who called off her wedding at the last minute. The few men who asked me out fell into 2 categories: those who saw me as damaged goods and figured I'd be grateful for any attention, and those who were fascinated by the drama and wanted to hear all the gory details. Neither type was particularly appealing. I tried online dating, but explaining why my last relationship ended was always awkward. My fiancé kept a secret from me sounds petty without the full context, but the full context makes me sound like the star of a reality show. About a year ago, I started seeing someone, a divorced dad named Marcus who moved here from another state and didn't know my history. For 3 months, it was blissful to be with someone who saw me as just Riley, not the woman who canceled her wedding. But when I finally told him the story, his reaction told me everything I needed to know about how people saw the situation. "So you called off your wedding because your friend had a crush on your fiancé?" he asked. Even though he didn't reciprocate her feelings? It wasn't just a crush, Marcus. She was in love with him for 3 years, and he knew about it for a year. But nothing happened between them, right? He turned her down? It's not about whether something happened. It's about the fact that they both lied to me for a year. Marcus shrugged. I don't know. Seems like they were trying to spare your feelings. Maybe they handled it the best way they could. We broke up 2 weeks later. The worst part of the whole situation has been losing Emma. I know that sounds crazy, given everything she did, but 20 years of friendship doesn't just disappear because someone makes a terrible decision. I miss having a person who knows all my stories, who remembers my childhood, and whom I can call when something exciting or awful happens. I miss having someone who understands my family dynamics and my work drama, and my weird sense of humor. I've made new friends, joined clubs, and tried to build a social life that doesn't revolve around the people I lost. But it's hard to replace a best friend, especially when you're constantly questioning whether the new people in your life are being honest with you. Last month, I ran into Emma at a bookstore downtown. She looked different, shorter hair, new style, like she'd reinvented herself since our friendship ended. We made eye contact across the store, and for a second, I thought about walking over to her. Instead, I left without buying anything. That night, she sent me one final text: "I saw you today and wanted to tell you that I'm sorry. Not for telling you the truth, but for waiting so long to do it. You deserved better from me, and I hope someday you find someone who gives you the honesty and loyalty you deserve." I stared at that message for hours before deleting it. The strangest thing about losing both Jake and Emma is that I still think about them as a unit sometimes. I wonder if they ever talk about me, if they blame themselves for what happened, if they think I was right to call off the wedding. I heard through the gossip network that Emma moved to Portland about 6 months ago. A fresh start, which I can understand. Sometimes I think about doing the same thing, packing up and starting over somewhere no one knows about my dramatic love life. But I've built a good life here, despite everything. I got promoted at work, bought a condo, and adopted a cat who doesn't judge my relationship choices. I have a therapist I trust, a book club I enjoy, and a yoga class that keeps me sane. It's not the life I planned 3 years ago, but it's mine, and it's built on a foundation of truth instead of secrets. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Emma had never told me about her feelings. If she just suffered in silence through my wedding and dealt with her emotions afterward. Would Jake and I be married now? Would we be happy? I think we would have been happy for a while. But I also think the truth would have come out eventually, and the betrayal would have just as much impact whether it happened before or after our wedding. At least this way, I found out who Jake was before I legally bound myself to him. The hardest question to answer is whether I would make the same choice again. If I could go back to that night before my wedding, knowing everything I know now about the loneliness and judgment and financial stress that would follow, would I still call it off? I think I would. Not because I'm glad it happened, but because I can't imagine living in a marriage built on the foundation of that secret. Every time Jake decided without consulting me, every time he claimed he was protecting me from something, I would have wondered what else he wasn't telling me. The thing about trust is that once it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair completely. There's always a weak spot, a place where doubt can creep in. I deserved better than that. I deserved a partner who would face difficult situations with me, not someone who would decide what I could and couldn't handle. Emma deserved better, too, though she's the one who created the situation. She deserved friends who would call her out on her pattern of falling for unavailable men instead of enabling her by keeping her secrets. And Jake. I don't know what Jake deserved. Maybe he deserved a fiancé who would have been more understanding about an impossible situation. Maybe he deserved better than having his wedding canceled because he tried to spare everyone's feelings. But he also deserved to learn that relationships require honesty, even when honesty is uncomfortable. The night before my wedding, Emma came to my house in tears and confessed that she'd been secretly in love with my fiancé for years. In that moment, I didn't know who had betrayed me more, her for having those feelings, or him for hiding them from me. 2 years later, I know the answer: they both betrayed me, in different ways, and I was right to walk away from both of them. But knowing I made the right choice doesn't make the loneliness any easier to carry.